Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate. Heading back out to the West Coast, UCLA heading on the road to play USC. Caleb Williams, probably last game at the Coliseum. Two programs that are about to go through a lot of changes. Coaching staff changes, obviously, for USC on the defensive side of the ball. Sounds like Chip Kelly might be out at UCLA, but also going into the Big Ten. This is kind of a game that can give both programs a lot of confidence heading into the 2024 year. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support for all of these game breakdowns has been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, would love to hear your picks, predictions in the comment section. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with this UCLA offense that's been struggling massively, going up against the USC defense that's been struggling massively. That, although I do think it looked better against Oregon Saturday night, two programs that are looking for some confidence and have an opportunity to gain some confidence this matchup. Now, looking at UCLA's offense, the quarterback situation, obviously banged up, kind of a quarterback roulette style. That is probably the reason we're talking about Chip Kelly no longer being with UCLA. The last couple of weeks on offense, no identity, no rhythm. They scored 7 points against Arizona State, and then 2 weeks ago only scored 10 points against Arizona. When you watch UCLA on the film, this was a program that could run the football earlier in the year and then has had little success running the football. The explosive passing game, just not there. Going back to last week's game against Arizona State, UCLA did not throw the ball 20-plus yards down the field one time. And so you look at this UCLA offense, and you're used to seeing a Chip Kelly-led offense kind of stretch the field and make the defense cover all the blades of grass, really stress defenses. You haven't seen that the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if it's a lack of confidence in the quarterback play or what he's seeing, but you look at this UCLA offense, and it just feels a little bit different. Looking at some of the playmakers, J. Michael Sturdivant, one of the best wide receivers in the Pac-12. We've seen him look like an all Pac-12 caliber dude. The last two games, he had 1 catch for 4 yards against Arizona State and only 3 catches for 17 yards against Arizona. You talk about scheming up plays for your playmakers, and Chip Kelly has epically failed in that department. I get Logan Loya. He's been playing some good ball, but you can't forget about a guy like J. Michael Sturdivant. I feel like they just have. And you look at the offensive line, and this was the concern heading in, and we thought maybe Chip Kelly can scheme around it. This offensive line is really bad in pass protection. I think that is kind of leading to the watered down version of the offense. You take a look at last week. Colin Schlee barely had a single pocket that was clean for him to step up into. And so you look at this UCLA offense and look at the reasons it's failing. I think it starts up front with an offensive line that's struggling to get it going in the run game, struggling in pass protection. And then you're just looking at an offense that is not stressing defenses like you're used to seeing Chip Kelly do so. Those are some of the concerns I have on the film watching back UCLA. Now, you look at USC's defense, it's a gettable defense. We all know that. Now, USC, I thought, played better in the front seven against Oregon. This is an Oregon offensive line that's one of the best units in the country, one of the best rushing attacks in the country. And although Bucky Irving got going a little bit, I thought the success rate for USC stopping the run wasn't that bad. I thought it was a step in the right direction. Now, if you're USC and you're looking at what needs to change in this defense, and this is no different story than what we saw last year, what we saw in the beginning of the year, you can't give up big plays to the caliber that USC is giving up these big plays. The first play of the line of scrimmage for the Oregon Ducks on offense, I think they go 75 yards to Tez Johnson for a touchdown. It's cool to be good down to down. You want to be a down to down basis, good defense, but when you consistently give up the big plays like USC's doing, it's so hard to put up a defense that is effective in limiting points on the board. And USC's inability to stop those big plays, especially through the air. Bo Nix averaged almost 20 yards per completion. That is an astounding number. Troy Franklin had 2 catches for 175 yards. You can't give up the big plays like USC did. Now, the question is, can UCLA find some of those big plays to hurt this USC defense that you haven't really seen the last couple of weeks? Couple of high notes, I thought. Traquan Fagans, true freshman for USC, got some burn against Oregon. I thought he looked great. And if you're USC, that's what you're looking for. Like, yeah, this season did not go as we wanted it to, but can you look down the road and look at some of the young guys who are going to be back in this program next year and say, yeah, these guys can be our playmakers heading into next year? That's kind of what you want. So you want to see Traquan Fagans get a little bit more burn, see what he can do. Maybe a Mekhi Lemon, throw him in there at the defensive back position and see what you have with some of those young guys. Because, and quite frankly, just trotting out Damani Jackson again, we know what he is. He ain't there yet. So that's what I'm kind of looking for USC. Now, flipping sides, these are the strengths of the units, right? This USC offense, for as critical as some people have been about Caleb Williams, and you hear it dropping his draft stock, this is still an offense that's averaging 43.8 points per game, which is number 1 in the country, 7.1 yards per play. That's number 5 in the country. It hasn't looked as clean as it did last year, but this is still a really good offense that would win a lot of games if the defense wasn't as much of a liability as you saw. Now, what I'm looking for this USC offense, it kind of similar to what we talked about. I would like to see the young guys continue to get some burn. I mean, Zachariah Branch, I've been banging the table for weeks on he needs more touches. Going back to the same conversation we had for UCLA's offense, you got to identify your playmakers and let them go make plays and get them the football in space and let them make plays for the quarterback. Zachariah Branch, a guy that can change the momentum in game flow of a game with a single touch. I think he needs more touches on offense. Deuce Robinson, would like to see him get more involved. Jacoby Lane got a little burn, would like to see him play. Then the second thing, stick to the run game. This offensive line has struggled in pass protection. I think we've noticed that. When you're consistently going away from the run game, and Lincoln Riley's a hell of a lot smarter than me calling an offense. This run game's been good all year. And I feel like at the first sign of it maybe not being as effective as Lincoln Riley had hoped, he just goes away from it. At the end of the day, Marshawn Lloyd is still one of the best running backs in the country and one of your top playmakers. Continue to get him the ball. Let him get in the flow of things. And when you run the football like USC has shown the ability to run the football, it takes a little pressure off that offensive line in pass protection. The offensive line has struggled. So running the football, I think, would be advantageous for USC, especially when you're looking at this UCLA defense, specifically the pass rush, that is so dominant. You take a look at this UCLA defense. Again, if this offense was just a little bit better, you're looking at two of the better teams in the Pac-12 because the UCLA defense has been elite, and it's been elite all year. Even in the loss against Arizona State, they only gave up 250 total yards of offense. I mean, Latu, the Murphy brothers, Medrano. I mean, they have all Pac-12 players on the defensive side of the ball. Dan Lynn has done a phenomenal job. And if you're USC, I would take a long look at UCLA's defensive coordinator, Dan Lynn, in terms of maybe hiring him as the defensive coordinator, because what he's done, and if there's going to be some coaching changes at UCLA, Dan Lynn has done a phenomenal job with this UCLA defense. It's good on good here. This USC offense going up against a really good defense, that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. That might be kind of a push. I think when you're looking at this game and trying to figure out who's going to win, do you trust the UCLA offense to score some points? Or do you trust this USC defense to stop a UCLA offense that really has struggled the last couple of years? That's how I'm looking at it here. Getting to the pick, USC 7-point favorites at home against UCLA. I'm going to go with the vibes here. And the vibes are Caleb Williams, last game at the Coliseum. I think USC will be fired up for this one. UCLA, it's hard to trust that team right now. Like, turning on that game against Arizona State and Arizona, like, this team just looks different. It feels different from the last couple of years. And that's kind of why I'm a fan of Chip Kelly. I think he's a great football coach. But if you ask me if I'm okay with them moving on from Chip Kelly, it would make sense after just seemingly kind of losing the locker room. And I want UCLA fans, I would love to hear from you guys in terms of if you're getting that sense too. That's what I got. So I'm going to take USC to cover the points here. Caleb Williams, last game at the Coliseum. I think he puts up some points. I don't think UCLA can necessarily keep up. Would love to see Dante Moore here. I think that would be a battle of two really, really talented quarterbacks. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys as usual. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.